concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I sound way more energetic than I feel because I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning to do some last-minute Rotor Riot Rampage things, including getting a couple extra packs in after all of the masses had left. And so I woke up at 7, and I drove for 6 hours and got home about an hour ago. And now here we are. But like I said to Blunty before the stream, let's do this. Let's do this. Are we going to do this, Blunty?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
We are.
Because you're well rested, right?
That's true. I am.
I don't know if you are. Yeah, so Blunty's going to be carrying me through this one by queuing up questions from the chat. I'm going to be... see, this is where Blunty's going to get questions from the chat. He's going to get them here in the YouTube chat. Hello to all of my friends from Rampage who are now home and are going to watching the stream, or maybe they're not home. It was very, very good to see you guys. And very exciting to get to meet you in person. And Blunty's going to be queuing up your questions, including in the Discord and in the super chats. Hit the $sign if you want me to read your message on stream. That's the short version. Right down here in the bottom, leave a super chat. I will be reading lots of other messages too. But
Hey,
yeah, Blunty.
sorry, real quick. Do you mind throwing me the feed? We're a little running behind just because you're
Oh,
coming
what
back
happened?
for Rampage. But I just don't have your feed.
You don't have my feed? Oh, I didn't start the camera. I'm so sorry, man. Is that better? Wait for it. Oh, I didn't turn it back on after I started streaming. And now Discord is going to crash. Okay. And now it's back. Do you have it? You don't? Hang on. Turn on camera. There we go. Now you got it?
Oh, all right. We got it.
Blunty,
Thank you.
Yeah, Blunty needs to be able to see the camera, see the feed in order to do his job. Okay, if that's the only mistake I make tonight, I will consider it. I'll be well rested for the news tomorrow, I promise. Yeah, so, Black Jungle's coming at you, Blunty. No need to reply. Your silence will speak worlds. Yeah, so I'm going to be taking questions over here after Blunty cues them up for me. And we're going to just spend a couple hours doing that. But before we do that, before I start answering questions, I just want to take a second and share with you guys a few memories from Rampage that have been posted to the Rotor Riot community. My God, it just gets better and better. But there's just so many, like, somebody painted this. That's so cool. Let's see, that would be Paul Hughes. Who did that? Paul did this painting. Just so much freaking love out there. This was the first year that Rotor Riot hired drift cars, and the drift cars would come and people would line up at the flight line, and they would have 2 minutes at a time to chase the drift cars. I'm not going to mute this, actually. We're going to hear the glorious sounds. Ooh, slow-mo. Yeah, so 4 pilots at a time would have 2 minutes at a shot, or like 2 or 3 runs of the cars. The cars would come out, they would do their runs, and then those guys would unplug, and the next group would come up, and that would just go on for 20 or 30 minutes at a time. And, that was a good run. Very nice. Very nice, Chris McConnell. It was pretty cool because, like, there's people out there who get to chase drift cars any weekend they want because they live near a drift track or they know drift racers. And there's people who get to fly bandos anytime they want. But I saw so many people. I'm not exaggerating because I was like, how is this going to go over? My jaded self is like, what, drift cars, whatever. I don't like drift cars. But like so I was hanging out and I was asking people, how was that for you? I saw so many people who were literally shaking. They were so excited that they got to chase a drift car the first time. It's exhilarating if you're not like old and jaded like me. And just the ability to bring that experience to people is really, I mean, not like I put on the event, but as a Rotor Riot cast member, I take a tiny amount of, of ownership, I guess. And I felt like maybe I was just proud of the people who do most of the actual work of making the event happen. Whatever. I felt really good about it. Travis, I did not get to ride in a drift car. I asked. They said that they had been told in no uncertain terms that ride-alongs were not allowed for liability reasons. So, and it's a good thing, too, because let me share some of my photos. Hang on. It's a good thing that ride-alongs were not allowed because there was some carnage. Like, for example, this. That car is not supposed to look like that. That's not how wheels are supposed to look. So this guy clipped a curb and busted his suspension. And that's okay because they had it working. They somehow fixed this. They used a welder. They ripped parts off of the other cars. These drift drivers are a lot like quadcopter freestyle pilots. Because they showed up with 4 cars, and by the end of the weekend, they had like 2 working cars, and the other 2 had been destroyed and gutted for parts to keep the other cars running. It was really something. Anyway, so good. I do want to share one more thing with you. I got to do something really cool. I don't know what possessed me. To do this, but I crowd surfed. Okay, it was a very small crowd. I didn't really get to surf much, but it was great. It was epic. I had so much fun. All right, so that was Rampage. Yeah, I just looked out at the crowd and was like, okay, I don't think you could crowd surf this crowd. But then I was like, what if they all clustered in closer? And sure enough, they did. It was great. So, man. Hey, Slat FPV, good to see you. Good to see you. I can't wait to see your footage, buddy. There's FPV footage of my crowd surfing. So, man, I can't wait. JC Crantrell asks for a shout out for his friend Dave, who paid for Rampage but could not attend. Sorry I missed you at Rampage, Dave. Maybe next year. Anyway, enough of that. It was great to meet all of you that I met. I'm so happy that those of you I wasn't able to meet were there. We sold 250 tickets total. The whole event sold out, as it always does. And it was really just so great to be able to share it with everybody. So, let's answer some questions. Is there whoop flying at Rampage? Yes, Stub T. So you can fly whoops at any flight line that you prefer, but there is also the Micro Mayhem area, which is an indoor area. It's like an industrial facility, so there's pipes and gratings and just all kinds of places to fly through. And the nice thing about Micro Mayhem is because it's inside a big concrete building, you only interfere with yourselves, but you don't have any interference issues from the outside quads, so that's nice. Synthetic says, my 180-pound buddy tried to crowd surf at a Better Than Ezra concert, and he went straight to the floor. Well, this crowd was better because I am, let's just say, over 180 pounds, and they held me up no problem. So, let's get to the questions, though. Let's see. Are there any questions in here about Rampage that I should get out of the way before we move on? I don't think so. Blunty, any questions about Rampage?
Not in particular. JC Cantrell thanks you in a super chat.
Yeah. Thank you, JC. Okay, let's just get on with FPV questions as if it was a normal day. Oh, here we go. This is great. Thank you for sharing this. So for the guy who asked about, is there stuff for tiny whoops? This is Micro Mayhem after all the lights were torn down. So this is where the tiny whoops flew for the event. Now, it was all lit up with Christmas lights and LEDs, right? So it was much more... That's actually a really nice photograph, to be honest. But plenty of opportunity to be interesting there. I will say one more thing. To anybody out there, like I met a few people who were like, I didn't know if, this was just an event for anybody. They were basically, maybe they hadn't been to an FPV event before, or they were worried that, only like big shot popular kids got to come. I don't know how you want to put it. Rotor Riot Rampage is an event for everybody in the FPV community. Unfortunately, because of the limitations of FPV frequencies, I should go to my main camera for this. Unfortunately, because of the limitations of FPV frequencies, it's not possible to have more than a certain number of people there. Because eventually you get so many people that either people are stomping on each other or people don't get enough chance to fly and then they don't feel like they got a good experience. So when I say it's for everybody in the FPV community, that goes without saying that there's a ticket cap, and once you hit the ticket cap, then no more people can come. And sometimes people are a little salty. Well, it's not for everybody if you have a ticket cap. I've seen that with other events, so I just want to head that off. But if you're a first-timer who's never flown before, people will totally support you and be super proud of you when you do your first flight. If you are a kid, there were kids there who were building quads, and I was super proud of some of the young kids who were there building quads and flying quads. And it's for if you don't fly, but you just want to come hang out, you're welcome. So North Orange Squad wants to know if anyone's still at the facility. I forgot my SD cards. I think, I don't know this for sure, But I believe that Rotor Riot's sort of lease on the property ended today. And not a lease per se, but I don't know that for sure. But I would guess that everyone is off site. However, if anyone is on site, or if anyone got North Orange Squad's SD cards, then reach out. Okay, enough about Rampage. Let's move on. Sky Sailor FPV wants to know, is air mode just like acro with shock absorbers? No. I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say there, so that analogy is a little bit lost on me. But air mode is not a replacement for acro. Air mode is like acro with a little bit of modification. The only like true flight modes in Betaflight are air mode, angle mode, and horizon mode. Like, I guess you could make an argument that turtle mode is a flight mode, but you're not flying with turtle mode, so no. I say no to that. Acro mode, angle mode, and horizon mode. I might have said air mode. It's acro, angle, and horizon. Acro is pure rate mode, pure manual control, where you rotate the quad with the sticks. Angle mode is the stick deflection controls the angle of the quad, right? And it returns to center automatically. And horizon mode is sort of like a melding of the two, where when the stick is near the center, you're in angle, and when the stick fully deflects, you switch over to acro. Air mode is a modification to the mixer so that at low throttle, the motors have more authority. So think of air mode as adding on top of and modifying acro, not being a replacement for it. And what air mode does is basically give more stability to the quadcopter at low throttle, but also makes the quadcopter react harder when it hits an obstacle at low throttle because it has more authority. So, Mike Bergman, I don't know anyone with 8S at Rampage, including me. I have finished the 8S build. Hold on. Oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my goodness. Sitting is better than standing. I have finished the 8S build. Ta-da! Here it is. The video is actually in editing. I have not configured it for Betaflight yet. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't bring it to Rampage because I would have destroyed it. And that would be a shame. Let's see here. Sidian wants to know, what are your thoughts on the durability and longevity of the Race Day Quad's backpack? I know you did a review of it. Hero Psycho said he knows some people who have it, and, quote, they don't hold up well. Let's take a look at this. This is the Race Day Quad's FPV backpack. I did review it. It has undergone some revisions since I reviewed it. That was years ago when it first came out. They are continually trying to improve it. So some of the things I might have criticized or complained about or suggested in the video may have been fixed. I'm just telling you that if you go back and watch my review of this backpack, it hasn't been updated and the backpack has changed a little bit. What Race Day Quads have done here is deliver a FPV-focused backpack at a really low price point, $80. Now, that's a low price point for an FPV backpack, not for a backpack in general. So if we look at this, we can see that we have many things that FPV backpacks are expected to have, like Velcro dividers, customizable dividers, lots of individual pockets, right? So you can organize your stuff. This is a solid backpack at about half or less the price of most of their FPV backpacks. But they obviously had to save money somewhere. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to learn from people who've had it for a few years that it didn't hold up as well as they might have hoped. Now, every time I talk about this backpack, which isn't that often, but I have talked about it in the past, someone out there says, what are you talking about? I've had it for years. It's amazing. And that's probably true for that person. You can see here, it's not like it's, really thin, crappy plastic. It's this knit, whatever, I don't know what to call it. So it's a solid backpack, but when you sell that custom, like, it's just Race Day Quads developed and made this. Like, Tyler didn't hand sew it. Oops, sorry, wrong scene. Tyler didn't hand sew it. They contracted with a manufacturer, presumably in China, to make it for them. But unlike the HDLRC backpack, which some people in my comments said, oh, you can buy that exact backpack in China, or just off the shelf. And I don't know if this is true, but some of my commenters said that that's not a backpack that HDLRC developed on their own. That is a sort of off-the-shelf product that HDLRC found in China and then said, oh, we'll sell it to the FPV market. Again, I don't know that that's true, but if that were true, that would be different than what Race Day Quads did. This was developed by Race Day Quads to their specs and manufactured only for them, specifically for them. And that costs money. So I would believe you if you said, I know some people who thought that the durability of this pack was not as good as they would have hoped. That would surprise me because at that price point, corners would have to be cut somewhere, I would think. I would say that what you have to ask yourself, and you've seen me do this on stream before if you watch my streams a lot. So pardon me while Grandpa goes into a story that he's told before, if you've heard it. Several years ago, my wife bought where's backpacks? Bags and packs, tactical backpacks. My wife bought one of these tactical backpacks from LA Police Gear. That's the only reason I bring this website up is because that's where she actually bought it from. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but perhaps it was this one. So this is the LA Police Gear 3-day backpack. It is an enormous backpack. It doesn't have all the cool dividers and pockets. I mean, it has a lot of pockets. Don't get me wrong. It's got a lot of pockets. But like the interior, I'm trying to find a shot of the interior. I don't know if I'm going to find it. Hopefully I will. I don't. No. Oh, shut up. Shut up. I don't want to spin the wheel. Show me more pictures. There we go. There's a picture of the interior. So the interior doesn't have all the dividers and pockets, but it is a bomb-proof backpack. Like 3 years later, and it's as still good as basically the day she got it, and it's $55. So I think that if you are thinking about getting an FPV backpack, then you should either say, I'm going to go to the $200 price point, and I'm going to get the iFlight bag. Or maybe not the iFlight bag, maybe something else. But I'm going to be at the $200 price point because that's the minimum to get like a really good quality custom bag like that. Or if you're going to try to get something on the cheap, you have to ask, do I want to spend $80 on the Race Day Quads backpack and get a slightly, let's say, watered down version? Or do I want to spend $55 on like a really solid regular backpack and then make do? Yeah, that's a tough call. Because if you get the regular backpack, you are going to need like a case for your goggles. Whereas with the Race Day Quads backpack, it has the dividers and you can just put your goggles in without a case. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is there.
I'll tell you what, these comments are extremely divided.
Yeah? What are you getting, Blunty?
A lot of people are like, hey, this is horrible, waste of money, trash. Mouse FPV says the DJI goggles don't fit. JC Cantrell says, I use the RDQ pack for my TBS goggles V2. So it's just, there's a lot of confusion from everybody. Some people are saying it's great. Some people saw a bunch of them were ripped. Some people said, I don't know. It seems to be all over the board. I wonder if QC is an issue because they're Chinese. I would hope RDQ is working on QC.
RDQ is usually pretty solid. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree that the interior dividers are made of a thinner material than the exterior. Thank God, right? The exterior better be thicker. And if you try and store tools in the interior pockets, they will cut or tear through. I always store my tools in a separate little bag, so that's what I would suggest you do. Yeah. So I don't think there's an easy answer. Some people love it, say they've used it for years, it's great. Other people are really mad at it and think it sucks. And I guess what I would say is you should pay attention to the complaints that people have and see if those resonate with you. Or if you're like, yeah, this guy's just a whiner. I'm talking about you, Mouse FPV. No.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah,
We lost the YouTube. We might have scrolled up or something there.
Oh, sorry. I got it. Thank you. I got that. Is that better? Yeah, it should be alive now. Great, thank you. Yeah. I reviewed the UUF bag. I don't remember what I said about it. It does have dividers, and it may have changed since I reviewed it. Again, I just feel like if you're going to buy a custom bag in this price range, you're going to end up making a lot of compromises, and you should be aware of that. You'd have to go back and look at my review of the UREV bag, because I don't remember what I said about it, so I'm not going to try and repeat it. Yeah. Night Owl says Nivek is using a snow boots bag with some custom-made reinforcements so it stays upright. Sure. The main thing you're going to get with a custom bag is that, and again, I have to credit my wife. She was the one who pointed this out. She said an FPV bag is designed to set down and open up, and there's all your stuff. Whereas a traditional backpack is designed to put down and you reach in and take stuff out of it. But an FPV bag just kind of lays it there for you. And that is what you're getting when you pay like $200 for a custom bag. So, anyway, good question. Good question. Kevin Sumner stopped at Buc-ee's on the way home from Rampage. Got a big brisket sandwich and an apple pie. What's my favorite food item from Buc-ee's? I mean, it's got to be the brisket. The brisket sandwich is freaking solid. It's solid. They have a beef jerky bar with like a whole bunch of flavors of beef jerky you can order. Like, I've never partaken of that. Beef jerky is, I like beef jerky, but it's like not an everyday food for me. But the brisket sandwich, of course. And by the way, if you're eating keto and you don't want to, and we will not be plugging Keto Chow, although technically I guess I did. I was traveling once, and one of our traveling party was eating keto, and we went to Buc-ee's, and we asked, can you just get some of that brisket and put it in a container without a bun for us? And sure enough, they did. And you're not going to get service like that at a normal gas station. Or maybe you will. I don't know. Andrew, thank you for $1.10 Canadian. Here's the question from Andrew. If I had some issues with the latest firmware update on my Walksnail setup on my Mobilite 7. I downgraded the firmware and seems okay, but no 50 megabit per second. What have you guys heard? Andrew, to get 50 megabit per second, you would need to do the unlock. And normally you don't lose the unlock when you do a firmware update, but maybe you did. So I would do the unlock procedure again. And it's probably been so long since you did it, you forgot how. But if you just Google that, you can find it.
Just a shout out real quick while we're talking about the Walksnail issues. He's talking about rolling back, or he's talking about downgrading firmware and it being better. I'm hearing that from a lot of users, and I confirmed with another user today that they downgraded and also saw much better performance. So if you're running the latest firmware on Walksnail, I would quickly PSA you to downgrade and see if that helps you. Don't forget, when you downgrade, you need to rename the file one version higher to be able to downgrade. But yes, I've gotten multiple reports that is fixing things for people who have issues on the newest firmware.
So I flew the newest firmware at Rampage and didn't notice any issues, but I don't fly Walksnail on the daily, and any issues that I might have had, I probably would have just blamed on some jackass being on my channel, which is always a risk at events like this. But you're going to lose the sharing mode if you do that.
Yes, people are blaming the sharing mode and some change they made for that causing the issues. But either way, there's a lot of users saying there's no difference and it's working great. But there's a whole bunch of users I've seen reporting that there are problems and that rolling back is fixing those issues for them. So
okay, it's very nice to have audience mode at Rampage. By the way, Blinty, there were a surprising number of Walksnail pilots at Rampage, and also a surprising number of HD0 goggles. I was really I would say that gosh, that's risky. I think I saw more Walksnail in HD0. Now, some of those HD0 pilots were running analog, for the record. But I think I saw more Walksnail in HD0 on people's faces than I did DJI. That's interesting. wonder if that's like, I wish I had data, but I don't. It seems like the FPV technology marketplace is healthy. You know, DJI is not going to be just running away with it. And can I also, Plenty, I just want to, Rotor Riot gave away, it was ridiculous. They gave away a set of Dominator HD goggles to every single winner of the freestyle contest and to everyone whose video was shown in the community spotlight, the live community spotlight they did. They probably gave away 15 sets of Dominator goggles, which is just like, it's so expensive. And I said to Stacy, I said, I didn't see that advertised anywhere. Like normally you would see, oh, you know, $20,000 in prizes on the Rampage posters. And she said, yeah, it was a last minute decision. And I was like, okay. So to anybody out there who won that, you know, congratulations. That's a hell of a prize. That's a hell of a prize.
That's really cool. The cynical part of me would say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because they're the same company. So it's all off the bottom line. You know what I mean? They're just going to pay less taxes if they lose money. So
that's interesting because Rotor Riot and Fat Shark aren't the same company. I mean, they are both owned by Red Cat, but presumably they have separate accounting.
Well, they're owned by Red Cat, but now they're like being wrapped up under that new company, right? By Jeff.
I assume they still have separate accounting though. Like I'm going to guess that when Rotor Riot buys goggles from Fat Shark, they write them a check. I wouldn't think, I mean, I don't know, but like, I wouldn't think that their finances
All I'm
would
saying
be
is
intermingled.
they didn't give away
way.
HD Zero goggles. That's what I mean.
Well, no, because Carl wouldn't sell them at wholesale. I'm sure they paid wholesale for them.
I would assume they paid less than wholesale as an advertising measure, but maybe that's not the case, right?
Oh, well, I guess I don't. I honestly don't.
Yeah. My assumption would be they're at cost or lower, like much, you know what I mean? Like instead of wholesale.
So what do you, I mean, still, that's probably $250.
Sure.
Least.
I'm not saying it's cheap or whatever, but I'm just saying like everybody, it all goes to the same master, even though the books are there. Like all the.
You're not wrong.
When all the investors get the reports, that money's coming to the same place, you know. So
there was one kid. This kid. I'm going to tell another. Sorry, you're going to get a Rampage story, people. That's how it is. So there's this kid. I don't know his age. I'm going to guess he was in the 12 or 13 years old age. But I could be way off because it's hard to judge the age of kids. And that he could have been like 9 and looked older, or he could have been 15 and looked younger, perhaps. But super cool little kid. He brought a iFlight Nazgul, maybe, or I think it was a Nazgul, and he crashed it and just exploded it. And I had been supposed to. I didn't know he was a kid. I sold this guy a quadcopter, a little micro, on my Discord server. And when he came up to me, he was like, oh, Mr. Bardwell, did you bring me that quadcopter? I was like, oh, geez, this guy's a kid. Okay. And I just point that out because if I know somebody's a kid, I say, hey, you got to ask your parents before I don't talk to children on the internet without their, I just want to go on the record there. So, you know, he comes, I had forgotten to bring his quadcopter. I just spaced on it. I was like, oh shit, I'm really sorry. He was like, it's okay. You can send it to me when you get back. So then he comes up to me and he's exploded his quad. He's his only quad that he has. And I feel like shit because I was supposed to bring him another quad and I didn't. And I'm like, hey, listen, dude, I'll get you another frame. And I said, Stacy was standing there and I said, he walked away. And I said, Stacy, I'm not giving away. I just want you to know, I'm not giving away your inventory. I'll buy the kid a frame. And she's like, no, it's cool. Your generosity is Rotor Riot's generosity. I'll comp it. So she was super cool. So we gave this kid his pick of the Rotor Riot frames. He picked a Moxie, and he transplanted all his electronics over to the Moxie and went out and flew. And the very first time he flew, he got plugged in on, and he exploded his quad. He was at the top of a big dive. Immediately, he sees somebody else's video because he was on analog. Somebody plugged in, and then by the time he gets video back, his freaking quad's exploded. So he got a couple spare parts. He got back up in the air. And he got to fly and he got to chase a drift car and he was super psyched. Later, they were doing the giveaways and it's a madhouse on stage and they're throwing props into the crowd and batteries into the crowd and they're giving away goggles and everything. And they were giving away some Walksnail VRXs and he got one and he got a Walksnail VTX to go with it. And he's like, I'm switching to Walksnail. He comes up to me and he's like, guess what? I found this under the stage. And he's got a second Walksnail VTX that just fell under the stage and got missed. So this kid cleaned up and switched to Walksnail that day. It was a really great way to end the story. So congratulations to him. Why didn't he pick the tank, says Mike Bergman. I don't know. He's a young ripper. He probably wanted Bubby's frame. I really don't know, but I wasn't going to judge. He was flying on analog. They were throwing lipos. Sounds dangerous. Come on, Mouse. Take it easy. Give me a break, Mouse. Ooh, dangerous. Okay, continuing. Ooh, what do we got here? Tim Z wants me to check out a new release from Flywoo. Can I copy paste this, Blunty? I think I can. Let's see what we got here. Flywoo new releases. Firefly 1S Nano Baby, is that it? Oh, wow. I mean, the 2S Nano Baby is real good. And it's a 1S, 1.6-inch props. Is that similar to the Odonata and the Babito? Or are they even smaller? Chat will tell me in a second. What is the prop size for the Odonata? 40 millimeter props. I think it's, no, that's the same. It's a 1.6. So that's the same size as like the Odonata and I think the Babito. That's probably going to be pretty sick. Flywoo has delivered on this type of quad before. The formula is pretty well established. I bet it's going to be pretty good. So, yeah, analog, Walksnail, and HC0. I have a new respect for the Walksnail 1S VTX after seeing some of the stuff people are doing with it. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Bobby Baggs says, I would be super pissed if somebody plugged in on me at Rampage. Listen, Bobby, I'm sorry, I sound like I'm talking down on you. I don't mean to do that. That's a fact of life at an event like this. It sucks. It sucks, especially if you're a kid who has one quad and you exploded. The flight lines, they run the flight lines in a very organized way that tries to keep it fun and moving, but also keep everybody safe and happy. But in an event like this, someone is going to plug in and smash you. Somebody. Like, that's just a risk. And you have to accept that risk or you just don't fly. Especially if you fly analog, you could be really susceptible to getting stomped. There's going to be some jerk in the pits or somebody in their tent who plugs in, I don't know, and you get stomped. They do everything they can to make it work, but there's always going to be incidents. And if you're not okay with that, you have to take it in stride. And if your quad explodes and you lose, $300 quad or worse, or, you lose a GoPro, that sucks. But like, what can you do? Like, you're going to go find the guy and punch him in the nose? I don't know. I mean, maybe some people would. I don't think so. Wes Magyar, I would assume that they could accommodate semi-truck parking at Rampage. I don't know about Minefield. Minefield is, you'd have to ask Ken Herron about that. Rampage has an extremely large facility, and I would assume they could accommodate a semi-truck if you contacted them beforehand. Ghost Branch says, Min Chan published a video that he's taking a break from FPV because some dick kept plugging in on him during a race.
They wouldn't let him rerun it. They told him it was just part of racing, and he would have to deal with it.
I mean, it could be intentional. It could have been intentional. Do we know do they know who the dick was?
That's why they're upset about it. I mean, Minchan does. He saw the OSD, but he's saying basically that they wouldn't do anything about it. They said as part of racing, you should learn to deal with it, that sort of thing.
No, you can't. You can't deal with it. That's who said that?
So he's decided their racing league there, their whatever racing league he's in.
South Korea?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know the details of this story, but the details as presented are ludicrous. Like, the idea that a racer, especially at his level, where every lap is tenths of a second or less from the other lap, and he's going Mach fuck the whole time. The idea that any interruption in his flow should be like acceptable and normal. Like, what is he supposed to do? He's going to crash instantly the minute he loses control. And he has no control. It should be up to the race organizers to say, hey, you in the pit who plugged in, you know, I don't know what the penalty should be. You get a penalty, right? And then rerun the heat. And there's potential for abuse there. Like, there's always potential for abuse in any competition. You could say, well, I have a secret deal with Bobby over here that if I'm losing the race, Bobby will plug in, he'll knock me out, and then we'll rerun the heat and I'll get a second chance. Like, there's always potential for abuse, and you just have to sort of do that. But to say to Min-Chan, sure, you got plugged in on and crashed, but hey, that's racing. F you. You should be able to deal with it. There's no way that he could deal with it. And if he couldn't deal with it, who could? That's silly. I mean, I'd be curious what does IO do in a case like this? Right. Chris Thomas smashes the quad with a hammer, and the okay, that only happened once, and it was a big uproar. Yeah. There was, for those who don't know about Hammergate, there was an incident was it International Open, Blunty? Do you remember? I think it was. It might have been Nats. Oh, it might have been Nationals. I don't remember the event, but it was a multi-GB event, and somebody plugged in, and Chris Thomas ceremoniously smashed their quadcopter with a hammer as a penalty.
Yeah, if you want more info, you can check out MCK's Facebook, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit on the news tomorrow. So.
Okay. Yeah, well. Yeah, that's up to the race organizers to make sure that doesn't happen and to give the racers a fair... Like let's say that someone was trying to cheat, and they had a secret deal that if they were losing the race, somebody would plug in and rerun the race. The second time that happens... we're going to find out who's effing plugging in, and we're going to take their quads, and we're going to tie their hands together, and we're going to sit on them until we finish the heat. Right? Everyone's going to be annoyed at them.
Yeah, he has video where you can see the OSD of another pilot show up. So, that, you know, obviously it doesn't seem like it's his gear that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's stepping away for a while. He didn't seem like he knew if it was going to be permanent or not, but he was very frustrated because he trained every day for that race and then lost because he wasn't allowed to rerun after he got plugged in on. So,
yeah. And of course, I would like to say that this is the reason. I mean, I would look to the rules of the racing league and say, is there something in the rule book about this? And if there was, then the time to raise the objection would have been before the event. And if there wasn't, then the organizers have made two mistakes. Number one, by not documenting this and thinking about it beforehand and communicating to the racers how it would be dealt with. And number two, then by making the wrong GD decision when it came time to make a call. Because if there is my opinion is that if something comes up during your event that you didn't think to put in the rules, then you should, in that moment, make the judgment call that is most favorable to the competitors or to the attendees, and then make the rule after the fact about how you'll handle it next time. Anyway, that sounds like bullshit, but I wasn't there, so I'm gonna say it sounds like bullshit and not say it was bullshit. I'm sure that many places would be happy for Min-Chan to race for them. Okay. I have been rambling and ignoring super chats. So we're going to read super chats now. I apologize for the rambling. I don't really apologize. This is how I just got
That's what they show up for, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people who left super chats might be a little bit annoyed that I've been ignoring them. So let's do it. Invaders Must Die. Thank you for a $7 Canadian super chat. Do you plan to renew or restock your DIY FPV kit this year? Yes, Invaders Must Die. The reason that the DIY kit... So first of all, normally when people ask me when the DIY kit is coming back in stock, I say it is in stock. You just missed it. They come back in stock and then they sell out really quickly. So unless you hit the notify me button or unless you're just refreshing the page every day, it might look to you like it's never in stock, but actually it is in stock. You just missed it. However, this time you're right. We are updating the frame to a V2 of the frame. And so the kit is going to be updated. And unfortunately, they didn't want to restock the V1 of the frame because they knew it was going to be updated, but now it's been like a month or more that it hasn't been in stock while we wait because there have been delays with the factory. I just got my manufacturing sample of the V2 frame. It's literally upstairs in the mail that I haven't looked at because I was at Rampage. Once that sample is sort of approved, then the official green light for manufacturing will go out. I will begin recording the new tutorial with the new frame, and in about a month, let's say, it should be ready. I can't promise you that, but that's just a guess as to how long these things usually take. So I think it'll be, and it really like bums me out more than you know, maybe not, but that like during sort of the hottest time in the FPV season, at least in North America, right as we go into spring, that kit isn't in stock right when you might want to buy it. For frick's sake, I got to meet, do you guys know Potato Jet, the YouTuber Potato Jet? I got to meet him at Rampage. He was at Rampage. He was like a special guest, and we hung out, and we actually shot some content and for his channel. And he said, oh, the first quadcopter I ever built was your beginner build from Get FPV. And I was like, oh, wow, that's so amazing. I mean, that's just like, it's so, whenever anybody does that, not just like a big YouTuber, that's so like such a honor. And then I thought, he's going to put this in the video, and he has 1 million subscribers, and some of them are going to go, oh, I should go buy this. And it's not going to be in stock. So I'm super bummed that it's out of stock for many reasons. But I think it'll be maybe another month and it'll be back. And that's all I can freaking say. Just what it is. Black Jungle, thank you for a 22 Brazilian reais. Reais. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I spoke Brazilian. Just using you as a way to poke at any possible HD0 people watching this. Place your bets. Are they going to eventually send me my goggles or just keep my money? 40 days and counting. I mean, I don't know what your 40-day counter is, Black Jungle. My understanding is that you know, they're shipping the. Have they, Blunty? Do you know if they've like finished shipping the pre-orders?
I'm not sure, but this is the whole thing. He got shipped the wrong order by DHL, but HD0 is basically not working with DHL to actually fix it properly on time, as that's what he's claiming anyway.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of
not just
around. He's been waiting 40 days since it was supposed to show up. It showed up, but it was the wrong thing, and they're saying he got it, and then he said, no, I didn't get it. I got the wrong thing. DHL messed up. Please fix it with DHL. Wow. It was a whole mess. So.
It's not just like I placed an order and now I'm super impatient.
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. But I will read your super chat as I am sort of, you know, live streamer ethics obligated to, and I will not inject myself in. That sucks for you, man. I believe in you, but also I'm not going to like interject myself in a situation I don't really know anything about. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Fortune Cookie, Ada Summer. Yeah, buddy, it's coming. I'm going to record the Betaflight setup video today. Not today. This week. It's going to go into editing. It'll probably come out next week. That's what I would say. Siati says, how the hell am I still so hungover for Rampage? Woo! Rampage. Listen, parents. Rampage is 1000% a family-friendly event. But like when the lights go down, some people get a little rowdy. So... should be aware if you're an adult who wants to get rowdy. Kim Fuse, good to see you. Kim Fuse, tell Gardo to jump on the stream so I can make him a moderator. You know, I saw Kim Fuse at Gardo Rotor at Rampage, and I was like, Kim, hey, good to see you. You know, and you know, congratulations on your moderator status. And I think Gardo Rotor was a little I don't know. I thought I noticed a vibe. Maybe it wasn't a very subtle vibe. I was like, hey, there he is. I was like, Garter Rotor, I get you too. Come on. Especially now that we have like gotten to know each other better over the course of the week. Wow, it sounds like I don't want to like it. We just spent time talking and chilling and hanging out. It's not like we like got to know each other. Athix was at Rampage, and I had a long conversation with him before I realized that I had not recognized him. I'm gonna say that it was because he cut his beard, but I'm not 100% sure that's honest. Because I don't see you guys in person but once a year. And after a year of not seeing you, I don't always remember what your face looks like. I'll remember next time because of the embarrassment of being like, so anyway, good to meet you. And he was like, hi, it's Athix. I was like, oh, yeah. Why didn't I know that? Derek Bodner, thank you for a $5 super chat. The other day I connected a battery, and before picking up my transmitter, the quad rebooted and armed itself. What are the likely causes? Did it fully reboot like doot? If so, that is worrying. Of all of the things on a quad that need to behave, the ESC is the most important one. Because the flight controller has 17 different safety checks to keep it from arming and spinning the motors when it's not supposed to. It is extraordinarily unlikely that a flight controller would cause the quad to arm when it wasn't supposed to. But the ESC, if it has a bad day, it could just spin the motors instantly. And so when an ESC misbehaves, it's like, I am extremely reluctant to get. It's like if you have a dog and the dog bites a kid, that dog needs to be very carefully protected from ever doing that again. And some people would say that dog should never be given the opportunity to bite anyone ever again, right? Which, okay, wink, not trying to upset anybody. ESCs are the same way. If I have an ESC and it's just sitting there and I haven't armed the quad and all of a sudden it goes, Bwah! And a motor goes to 100%, that ESC is going out behind the barn and it's not coming back. So just because the ESC rebooted suspiciously, that's not a immediately take it out behind the barn situation. Maybe your battery's just a little flaky. Maybe the XT60 connector jiggled. Maybe there's a soldering problem. It didn't spin the motors. Since it didn't spin the motors, it's not instantly going to get euthanized. But I would be suspicious about this and consider that it might be a bad ESC. And if it is a bad ESC, that's extremely dangerous.
Okay, I'm confused. It didn't spin the motors, but it armed itself. What does armed itself in this case mean?
Does armed itself mean it spun the motors? I read that as it did the startup beeps.
I'm assuming he means it armed like the motor spun.
Oh.
Because otherwise, I mean, I don't, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I mean, yeah, maybe you're right. Well, Derek Bodner can tell us in the chat, Blunty. I assume since all what you just watched the chat.
He says it did spin the motors.
Oh, okay. So
we gotta take it out back. Yeah.
You gotta, yeah. Was it wet? Had it gotten wet? I've seen this happen. Oh, here, Derek B has a freaking video. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is so choice. Okay, let's watch this video. Ooh, so good when they give you video. With audio, too. All right. Oh, nope. Take it out behind the barn, Derek. Think about it, Derek. I'm sure you have, but in case you haven't, that could have happened. You could have plugged it in and been setting it down, and it could have done that, and it would have just chewed the shit out of your hands, your arm, maybe your face. That ESC is done for. The only thing I would say is if you had recently gotten it wet and it hasn't dried out yet, sometimes I've seen that, and when they dry out, they're okay. But boy, that's a big risk. What you have there is you have essentially like a piece of unexploded ordnance that you found out in your field. And you're like, oh, what's this? It's an old landmine from World War II. And every time you plug that quad in, maybe it's going to explode and try to eat your face. Or maybe it's not. You don't know, and I wouldn't take the chance. Now, somebody pointed out I only heard 2 beeps. Let's listen again. Oh, wait a minute. They're right, Blunty. Does that change our analysis?
I can't hear anything. What happened?
Oh, you can't hear it. Oh, you're right. You don't hear the sounds. It only gave you 2 beeps. It only went doot doot. It didn't go doot doot doot. So that means the flight controller rebooted, or the flight controller. That's not an ESC issue.
But the ESC makes that noise, and it makes that noise on reboot with seeing the flight controller, right? It's not gonna. If you turned on a flight controller,
well, it means the motor signal went away and came back.
But is that an expected behavior on an ESC? That's not true,
No.
right?
Well,
that's what I'm saying, right? Like,
if the motor signal goes away and comes back, you'll get that doot doot again. Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm confused.
Yeah.
So if you have the ESC on for like a minute and then you plugged in a flight controller, it would just go doot doot?
Yeah, so plug in the ESC with no flight controller. It goes doot 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 and waits. And then you turn on the ESC and it goes the flight controller, and it goes doot doot. You know what I'm thinking now? Yeah, go ahead.
So the second 2 beeps are basically confirming the packets are coming from the flight controller, right?
Yes.
So we would either have to assume that the flight controller sent a bad packet, or it interpreted the packet incorrectly, right? I mean,
correct.
Because it beeped.
So, what about this? What if I've seen this kind of thing in a scenario where you like turn on bidirectional D-shot, but the ESC doesn't support it. And then it's not reading the packets successfully. And then somehow randomly, it kind of thinks it sees the packets, and then it initializes and it freaks out. So I still think we have an ESC problem here, but it's like, for example, is this a BL Heli SESC and you're using bidirectional D-shot? That could cause this, I think. So maybe this is a configuration issue and not a bad ESC.
This is where I'm gonna suggest that somebody out there listening, or maybe somebody like Chris Rosser, like something like this would be nice to do a failure analysis on. Because I would be curious to know really what's happening. Because you would assume that the ESC can't just spin unless it's getting a packet that gives it a throttle amount through D-shot, right? And that's a digital packet. So how can you have a corrupted digital packet that still gives you a value out to spin, right?
I agree.
I'm trying to think about this pathway of how this would actually happen. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, what's happening here?
And I know that in later versions of BL Heli, and I don't know the specific version, but the very first version of BL Heli that had bidirectional D-shot, this was more likely to happen than was acceptable. And there were some instances where this happened and people got hurt. And they increased the code. So like you need even more good packets in a row before it will actually accept the signal. D-shot has a checksum, but it is not an error-proof checksum, I think. Like, it's sort of a basic parity check, but you can get packets through that just randomly have the correct parity check. I'm surely getting some of the technical details wrong, but it's not like a checksum where it's 100% guaranteed to detect a corrupted packet. And I have seen this before. When you're getting a garbled signal to the ESC, sometimes it spins the motor, even though it shouldn't.
So yeah, I would just say that like, I'd be super interested in no failure analysis and know if it's actually just like, if you send a bunch of junk to the ESC, will eventually the motor spin? You know?
Yes, I would say probably.
Gotcha.
But Chris Rosser, maybe he could do that test.
Yeah.
Black Jungle's on fire tonight, or maybe I'm just tired and easily amused. But that's a fire meme right there. Ghost Branch points out that the first 3 tones are missing. My understanding is you cannot get the second 2 tones until you get the first 3 tones. I assume that happened before he started recording.
Yeah, the ESC never powered off because he landed it, right? Or he was setting it down after we heard the tones. So then we were just hearing the second 2 tones, or the last tone 4 and 5, because it saw the D-shot packets coming from the flight controller.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah. So he was flying?
We should say, or we saw some data, right, instead of D-shot packets, because it seems like that may be the case.
I believe what it needs to see is some number of valid D-shot packets in a row before you get the doot. And statistically, that can happen by accident.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he just connected the battery. He walked over to fly it, and then it rebooted and flew away. So
yeah. All right. Anyway, that's what we got about that. And Derek, seriously, figure whatever you conclude. Figure this out with your props off, and be really sure you figured it out right. Because again, I just want to put in your head. Imagine one day, derp to derp, I'm going to fly. Oh boy, it's going to be a great day. Doot. Instantly. I'm not making that up. That will suck. You will get stitches or worse. So don't take this lightly. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're sorry, I will end with we're doing a lot of conjecture and thought about this, but at the end of the day, I would replace that ESC, not fly it.
Unless, I'm going to disagree with you slightly. Like, I totally have seen BLHeli SCSCs where you turn on bidirectional D-shot and the motors kind of want to spin but don't. And I've never seen one spin the motor up, but like, it's plausible to me that this could be a firmware mismatch or a configuration issue and the ESC doesn't have a defect. So I would check the configuration, but be real careful about it. I'm not 100% sure that he should just throw the ESC out, because I think he could have effed it up, but theoretically. Anyway. Okay. Sorry, I've just used my position as the host to get the last word. It's a little bit disrespectful, but once you say it's fine. If you say it's disrespectful and acknowledge it, but don't apologize and then move on, that's good enough. That's how you do it. Damian Nilsson, thank you for $5 Australian. Thanks for the help. Thank you for, I don't remember what I helped you with, but I'm glad I did. So thank you for the super chat. Wingson Tegel Moabit. How'd I do that name? What do you think about the AMAX Bando 2306 motors? Thanks for €2. I'm going to think that they're motors. I'm going to look at the price and the weight and make a judgment call. But I'm probably not going to be too impressed. But let's give them a chance. Oh, that's AMAX Inno. So AMAX Inno makes good motors. They make high-quality motors as near as I can tell. I'm saying that based on things other people say about them. I think they're German. There are people out there who really like these motors. How much are they? 5 divided 5. They're $21. That's a fair price. I don't have a strong opinion about them. 2306 is a fine size. 1750 kV is a fine kV. And $21 a set is a fine price. $150 though is 30. Yeah. So they were originally $30 a set, a motor. And that's just like, get out of my house. Are you joking? Price. There isn't any 2306 motor I can imagine paying $30 for, unless it's like a really specific application, like I'm trying to like break a drag racing record or a speed record or something, and I need a specific motor. So at $105, I might think about buying them. I'm gonna guess, but I don't know who would pay $30 for a motor. That's silly. Just don't do it. Oh, hey there, DJAF. First time catching the live stream from the UK. You're up late, man. You're up late. Paul Hampton, thanks for $3 Canadian. I don't think we have a message from Paul. Do we have a message from Paul?
Right. Yeah, it's right
okay.
after. I can pull it up for you. Here
yeah, no, I got it. Thank you. It's because I was filtering on the super chats. Is the GepRC Cinebot 30 HD kit with motion controller DJI goggles 2 a good starter quad for the first time FPV? What do you mean motion controller? What? The Cinebot doesn't work with a motion controller. I'm sorry? Is this a joke? What are they selling it with a motion controller? Blunty, I'm going to start Googling. Can you see if you can figure what he's talking about at the same time, and we'll see if we find an answer in a reasonable time?
Yep.
That doesn't make sense to me. The DJI motion controller only works with the Avata or the FPV drone. It doesn't work with a self-built drone like the Cinebot. Is it a good starter quad? Sure. The Cinebot 3.0 is not a bad starter quad. The 03, of course, is a great air unit if you can afford it. And the maybe he meant the FPV controller, not the motion controller. Maybe that's what he meant. I bet that's what he meant. The FPV controller is fine if you're using the DJI 03 air unit. If you want to use any other video system, though, which maybe you won't, it's not going to work. And the goggles 2 or the goggles Integra are good, again, assuming you have the money for them. I think the Cinebot is a better choice than some Cinewhoops. The injection molded frame on the Cinebot, I think, is a little more durable than on most Cinewhoops, although none of them are going to be perfectly durable and crash proof. So I think you could do worse. And if you're thinking about going that direction, that's an okay choice. My personal choice would be a 3 or 3.5 inch, like the AOS 3.5, just as an example. I think an open prop 3.5 inch is better to learn on, because when you crash, you'll break props, but you'll just replace the props and you'll be fine. Whereas with the Cinebot, eventually you're going to crash and you're going to break the frame. And then replacing the frame is a real pain in the ass. Can you replace the ducts on the Cinebot without replacing the whole frame? I don't think you can. I think it's all one piece. Well, I don't know. I think it is, though. Captain Kazi says the Cinebot is super durable. That's saying something. All right, Paul. So if you want my blessing, I give my blessing. Although that wouldn't be my personal first pick, but it's not a bad first pick if that's what you've settled on. Can I scroll down on YouTube? Oh, I don't know why YouTube isn't already scrolling down, Blunty. And I see that you left that message so I wouldn't read it, and then I read it. But what are you going to do? That's weird.
Trying to be a producer.
No, it was I just read it out of reflex. I was like, ooh, Blunty pinned a message for me. What does it say? And immediately started reading it. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Continuing our attempt to catch up on the super chats. Cyxerus started with a GepRC Mark V and broke 2 of the MCX connectors, presumably on 2 of the rad 1.6 watt VTXs. Are they just notoriously weak? I would say no to that. I would say that the mounting of the antenna and the video transmitter should be done in such a way that the connector, whatever it is protected from stress. So if you broke 2 in a row, then clearly something's wrong. How is the antenna mounted on the Mark V? Can we get a booty shot? How is it mounted? Show me the butt. Oh, that'll do. That's not exactly the butt shot I wanted. Here, this'll do. That's the wrong side. Show me the top. Okay. Okay. Show me the side. I feel like I'm playing Family Feud here. How is it, like, restrained? Interesting. So, did the antenna yank out? Or is it getting hit? I can't tell if the antenna yanked out and got ripped off, or if it's making contact here and it's getting smacked. Does that 3D print, like, smack it? Smack the MMCX? I would want to figure out how it's being damaged, because it's a very small connector. So obviously, if you're hitting it, it's going to break. If you're tugging on it, it's going to break. It should be mounted in such a way that doesn't happen. It might be appropriate to... Okay, so here's what I would do. Here's one thing you could do. Move the XT60 to the top of the video transmitter. You see how the XT60 wires come up around the MMCX? It seems like there's opportunity there for them to damage the MMCX as it gets yanked around. So consider moving those at XT60 to the top of the video transmitter. But you might need to redesign this 3D print to give it a little more spacing. But I would want to figure out, like, how it broke. Like, what's breaking it? And then prevent that. Tyler Patton wants to know, thank you for a $5 super chat, Tyler. What are the dimensions of the wooden dive tower in your backyard? Thanks for that super chat. Tyler, well, currently it's laying on its side because a windstorm blew it over. So if you build one, anchor it to the ground. I knew this would happen, and I knew it was temporary. I expected it to fall apart before a windstorm knocked it over. I expected it to just collapse because it was just rotten wood held together with screws. But it held together shockingly well when it got blown over. Nevertheless, the original dimensions was 16 feet tall with 5-foot openings and then 3-foot dividers. I would say I picked a 5-foot opening because that's what a multi-GP gate is. For freestyle, it would be nice to have a larger opening. If you're trying to do like Matty flips and backwards dives and stuff, a 5-foot opening is fairly unforgiving. Now, you may like that because, it'll make me a better pilot. If I were to do it again, I would do an 8-foot opening. But an 8-foot opening is going to be like 25 feet tall, which is going to be difficult to build without like scaffolding. So, anyway, there you go. Teddy Tuned. Oh, I might have clicked something by accident, Blunty, and turned it off. Teddy Toon says, thanks for your help at Rampage. Feel free to deliver pizza to my freestyle sessions anytime. Yeah, one of the things that happened was that Mike from GemFan bought like 20 pizzas and brought them, and we just drove around in a golf cart shouting, "Pizza delivery!" and giving pizza to people. And we even flew out on a flight line. And he said when he did that at I.O., they were very annoyed that he'd interrupted the race. But that's the difference between a race and a freestyle event. At a freestyle event, when you drive a golf cart out into the flight line, people just laugh and start chasing you and bonking off your golf cart. Well, when you interrupt a race, they get super uptight about it. Dark Noodle. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Jeez, we have a ton of super chats. Thank you guys for your generosity. Would like to remind you that I did 45 minutes, of regular chats before I got into the super chats. So please understand when I try to clear these out. What's your opinion on which charger is better, the Hoda S6 or the Toolkit RC M6AD DAC? Dark Noodle, my personal pick would be the Hoda S6 because I have seen QC issues with Toolkit RC chargers. I'm gonna put a caveat on this at the end, so hold on with it for a grain of salt. I bought a Toolkit RC M6 DAC at Rampage last year because I actually brought a charger but forgot the power cable for it. I was like, shoot. So that's what they were selling, so that's what I bought. it was miscalibrated out of the box. It was reading like 0.1 volts high on one cell, and I looked up how to calibrate it. I did the calibration thing using my multimeter. I brought it basically back into spec, and it has worked fine ever since. Another person bought the same charger at Rampage and was like, why won't it charge my batteries? And I looked at it for him, and it was miscalibrated in exactly the same way. So I was like, isn't that interesting? Toolkit RC has released chargers in the past that had real durability issues and just were... Now, the caveat on this is when Evan Turner, Heads Up FPV, made a 533 version of the Toolkit RC M6, I said to him, I said, I'm not trying to tell you your business, but just, I feel like I'm going to shit on your charger. And I just wanted to tell you, personally, why I'm going to shit on your charger, because I like you and I like your store and I like your products. And I don't want you to think I have beef with you. And I told him basically the story that I'm telling you. And he said, well, all the racers I know use it and it's fine. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can't argue with that. So you have two pieces of information here. Lots of people say the Toolkit RC is solid. Other chargers in the past from Toolkit RC have had issues. And personally, mine was miscalibrated from the factory, which doesn't inspire confidence. The Hodas, on the other hand, I'm not saying like every Hoda sold in existence has been perfect, but they have a really solid reputation of just being great. And I think the specs on the Hoda S6 crushed the M6 as well, but I'm not going to pull them up to double check that. Does that make sense? Quad Doc has the opposite experience. I got a Hoda D6 that won't charge. Just turns itself off. Toolkit RC going strong. Hey, like I said, nobody's perfect. I feel like Hoda has a better track record. That's my opinion. If you buy the Toolkit RC, well, if you buy anything, buy it from a store that will take it back if it's messed up. Okay. Let's see here. Continuing the super chats. A. Kiefer. Thank you for a $5 super chat. New Vista Wasp Goggles 2 won't go over 5 megabits per second on ARM. Full Betaflight OSD shows up. That's a tough one. Full Betaflight OSD shows up, so you clearly have a working MSP connection. This may not be the answer you want to hear. Can you try a second VTX? Because at this point, we're basically in process of elimination. Athix, 2 channels.
I would suggest reseating the camera on both the camera cable on both sides. If the camera's not seated properly, you get a low bit rate.
Really? Oh,
yep.
That would surprise me. But okay.
It's happened many times. I
believe you. I believe you. Yeah.
And it happens when you arm, because there's an arm versus a not arm state on those Vistas, even if you have low power mode off. Remember how the camera changes the brightness or whatever when you arm. Yeah. So my understanding is what happens is you arm and it's not fully connected, and instead of going into its normal power mode, it just goes into some weird low power mode where it drops the bit rate.
Yeah. Okay. So reseat the cable between the camera and the Vista at both ends. You will need to remove a screw from the Vista and pull out a little retention tab. Make sure you put that back exactly as it was. It's necessary, but just pop that cable off. Look up how to do it, how to replace a Vista camera, because the little MIPI connector, if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna damage it. It's fairly durable, but it's also it's durable if you press on it in the way it's intended to be pressed on. If you come at it from the wrong direction, it can be effed up. So you be really careful.
I would suggest that that's not the issue. It could be the camera. or because the camera's not making contact. or only making partial
Blunty.
contact.
What if he didn't update the firmware on the Vista?
Maybe
And the
'cause
Wasp
it's
isn't
a
working.
Wasp camera, right?
But shouldn't he
Yeah.
have pink at the bottom of the screen?
I think there's like a known issue that happens with that. But just but for posterity's sake, if you're not on 0608 on that Vista, then you need to update to
He
0608.
says he refreshed the firmware. Surely it's the latest firmware,
Okay,
but maybe not.
fair enough.
Maybe not. Okay, good tips. Good tips. Thank you, Plenty, for that. In my head, the camera connection doesn't affect the bit rate, but apparently that's not true.
I've personally seen it happen.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I'm going to add
And
that
then
to my
reseat-
database.
And then for whatever reason, reseating that, I just think it's something about the partial pin connections. It like has enough data to give it normally, but then when you arm, it's like, nope, I don't know how to do this.
Interesting. Wes Magyar says his Hoda chargers, the fan died on them, but his Toolkit RC is going strong. I mean, I'm going to repeat these stories because I feel like it's important to be, not to just assume that my experience is the only experience in the world, and to bring you guys, the data. I have mixed feelings about Toolkit RC. Let's say that because I have personally had bad experiences, I take that, I give that more weight than things people tell me, which isn't probably rational. But there you go. Derek J, thank you for a $10 super chat. It was recently brought to my attention how dangerous LiPo charging and discharging can be. What are reputable companies that produce quality LiPo safes that I can charge batteries in? Derek, the one you want to get is BatSafe, Bat-Safe. Everything other than a BatSafe is going to be like an industrial fire. And if you want to buy an industrial fireproof cabinet, you can, but they're super expensive and big. BatSafe is the thing that is made for FPV pilots and will do what you want. Stevens Box says, thank you for a $5 super chat. Stevens Box, I'm thinking of printing frame arms with polyamide COPA on my Prusa. Have you tried anything similar? No. What's polyamide COPA? Nylon. Okay, there's a chance. Carbon-infused nylon is the only material I've seen come close to being acceptable for 5-inch freestyle frames or racing frames. Now, this looks like nylon without fiber, without carbon. So I'm skeptical, but maybe.
I think it says at the top it's infused, doesn't it?
Is it infused? Where does it say that?
Oh, maybe not. Okay, so that's just straight. Okay.
It just says it's a copolymer of nylon 6 and nylon 6,6.
My understanding with all the carbon filaments was the issue is it's just like short chain. It's just all like chunks. So it doesn't really help anyway. You need long chain and like actually have the carbon to be attached to each other.
I think it makes some difference. Maybe in the toughness. Maybe not the like resistance to bending, but the resistance to abrasion perhaps. I don't know. I don't think it's a great idea to 3D print quadcopter arms, period. Depends on the size of the frame. Of course, if it's a 3-inch, there's a good chance it'll work, but I still think the durability is going to be better on carbon. If it's a 5-inch, I think that you're not going to get great results unless they're super thick and heavy, and even then, maybe not. So that's my opinion. But the answer to your question is, have I tried something similar? And the answer is no, and I never will, because I just don't think 3D printing freestyle frames and 5-inch frames in general is, you got to really want to do that, because it's just worse in pretty much every way than carbon, from my perspective. Brian M., thank you for a $5 super chat. Have you ever heard of signal jamming or similar at a big event or race? No, I mean, except in that people stomping on each other's frequencies is just a freaking part of an FPV event. And so, I mean, there's no frequency coordination. I mean, that's not true. There is frequency coordination at big events, but there is no way to prevent people from just being dumbasses and plugging in and stomping a frequency. And that happens a lot. Then what can you do? I don't know of any scenarios where someone did it on purpose, maliciously. I assume that it's happened at some point. Someone went, F that guy, and plugged in. And they were, who plugged in? Crash. And then they're like, do. Like, surely that's happened. Just because on a long enough timeline, someone will be an asshole. Right? That's just how people are. But I don't know of any, like, known stories about it happening on purpose. Elegant Drifter. Thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm about to figure my Radio Master Ranger and RP3 receiver. Any tips? Yes, Elegant Drifter. First thing you should do not start up ExpressLRS Configurator and try to flash them. That is no longer the best advice. The first thing you should do is put them in Wi-Fi mode, one at a time, and log into the hotspot and bring up the web browser interface and look at the firmware version that's on them. And if it is 3.x, you probably don't need to update the firmware. The second piece of advice is bind them by typing the bind phrase into the web interface, not by flashing them. And this result saves a lot of heartache and is the easiest way to get them to bind. And there are times when flashing them is the right thing to do. But if they have the same firmware version or if they're both on 3.x, then you probably can just type a bind phrase in and get on with your life. Cinnabon, thank you for a $5 super chat. Often after I crash and rearm, one motor will not power up. When I power cycle, everything works fine. Is there an explanation or fix? Yes, there is. There is a bug in BLHeli. I'm going to look up. I told someone about this, and the details are in the chat. So I'm going to look it up, and then I'll show you. But I don't want to just show you all of my chats and conversations. Search BLHeli. Come on. No results. Shut up. BLHeli 32. No results. Shut up. Okay. Damn it. What if I do this? Oh, got it. Hang on. Got it. 1 second. I'm almost there. Got it. Here we go. So this is me reporting this bug to Tyler at Rotor Riot, who runs the warehouse, because they were shipping ESCs that were affected by this bug, and I wanted them to know. The issue does not affect all ESCs. It affects some ESCs. And it says, after I crash, a few motors don't restart. What causes it? And the answer is, it's a known BLHeli 32 bug with some ESCs. What you need to do is flash BLHeli 32 version 32.99. I don't know if that's actually officially released or if that's a beta. Where will you get BLHeli 32 32.99? Like, can you download it? You can't download it. Is it available? Like, if I download the latest version, do I get 32.99? 32.99 test code. I see. So what you need to do is go to the folder loaded startup test code. Where is that? Oh, here. Loaded startup test code. I see. And then you need to download your file from here and manually install it in your... Oh, that's a pain in the ass. Well, maybe I should make a video about how to do this, because I actually am not sure I know how to do it off the top of my head. But what you need is this loaded startup test code from 32.99, and that will fix that bug, which is most likely the reason the ESC doesn't restart. I'm guessing. I'm hoping. Anyway, if it's not that, then it's a bad ESC. Scotty Camera, thanks for a $2 super chat, and thanks for all the inspiration. Thank you, Scotty.
I'm sorry. One more time. Can you scroll down on YouTube? I don't know what's happening over there.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Why it's doing that. I'm not touching it. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm not touching it. Anyway, I got it. Square One. Square One says, my brand new quad is making whistle noises at mid-throttle. Any idea? Thanks for a €5 super chat, Square One. Try using smaller props. So if you're using 5-inch props, try a set of 4.9s. And see if the props are like interfering with each other in a way. Make sure that the arms are not like, maybe the arm screws got loose and the arms shifted slightly. These are some of the things I can think of. It's probably coming from the props, and there's probably something the props are interacting with that makes a whistle. I wonder if we could hear it. I wonder if there's a video you could reference that we could hear it, because we might be able to know more if we heard it. So if you have a link, go ahead and send it. Cyaxaris, we're going back to the GEPRC Mark V that has the broken MMCX connectors. First MMCX broke from the antenna being landed on by the battery. Second broke by plugging in a new antenna. Ouch. I bought a TBS Unify to replace it. Well, that'll do it. Nah, just go to a different VTX. That's fine. That is an adequate solution to that problem. The antenna shouldn't break the MMCX. Like, that's surprising. But the antenna shouldn't be able to hit the MMCX. So, seems like there could be a better mount there. 17. Number 17. Travis Eastman. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Do you have an idea what remote idea module you plan on using? So, my pick... The one that seems to me, and like I could discover that there's some hidden downfall that I'm not aware of, but the one that stands out to me is the Drone Tag DRI. And the reason it stands out to me is because it is completely self-contained and works with the existing GPS unit that you could put on your quad. So it has a connector for an external antenna, but it also has a built-in antenna, so you do not have to use an external antenna. So I can plug this little device in line between my GPS and my flight controller. I do have to add a GPS to the quad, which I don't do on all my quads, but okay. There's plenty of GPSs out there. They're small, they perform well. Sure, I'll bite the bullet and I'll put a GPS on my freestyle quads when I might not have done that before. You add this device, you don't need an external antenna, it's fully self-contained, and boom, you are compliant. And then you tuck the damn thing right up in the middle of your frame, so the little built-in antenna doesn't get any range, and you're still technically compliant. You are compliant with the rules, but you're mitigating the impact. I'm obligated to comply with the letter of the rules. I'm not obligated to comply with the spirit of the rules or go beyond the letter of the rules to help the government enforce their regulations on me. So, it seems to me like this is the lowest impact way of complying with the rules, both in terms of, like, the Drone Tech BS. Oh, shoot. The Drone Tech BS has external antennas. Oh, I don't see. There it is. Drone Tech BS. It has these external antennas. It's like, I don't like that. I don't want to put that on my aircraft. I like the DRI. That would be my choice. At least today. I haven't tested it yet. Zippy. Pacific Source, if you think I'm shaping legislation, I assure you that I'm not. Nobody really gives a fuck what I say. If they did give a fuck what I said, then they wouldn't have done half the things that they do, because I've been telling them not to, and they haven't been listening. Zippy says, why are MOB 6 motors sold in clockwise and counterclockwise? Can't you change the motor direction in Betaflight? Thank you for a $5 super chat. Zippy, because the MOB 6 has plugs, and they assume that you would just like to plug the motors in and go. So the clockwise and counterclockwise is just which way they're wired, so when you plug them in. But like if you had a clockwise motor and you had to replace the counterclockwise motor, you could just go into Betaflight and change the motor direction. You're 100% right. They're just trying to save you the trouble. Cyaxarus, thanks for another $5 super chat. No mounting holes for the TBS Unify. Typically, you would use double-sided tape and or a zip tie. There are no, I don't know of any mounting, like, does License to Drive have a mount for the Unify? It's possible. License to Drive has a mount for the Unify Nano. No. I wouldn't 3D print a mount, though. I wouldn't 3D print a mount. I would just use some double-sided tape. Personally. Oop, whoops. Sorry. I got an interesting question here from DFGA, who asks, do any remote battery disconnects exist to stop battery discharge on a hard-to-reach quad? No, and here's why. Quadcopter battery delivers 50, 60, as much as 100 or more amps. Now, let's look at what a switch looks like that can handle that. 100 amp, 25 volts, 25 volt switch. 100 amp toggle switch on Amazon. Oh, okay. Okay, here's a DC 100 amp, continuous 150 amp. How does that work? Oh, 150 amp intermittent. That sounds perfect. Max 32 volts, 100 amps continuous, 150 amps intermittent. Switch. Sounds perfect. Let's take a closer look at this. I need some specs for this. I need to see the size and weight. It's a 29 millimeter mounting hole. So that's 3 centimeters. What's the weight? Oh, that's not a remote switch, though. Oh, I'm sorry. You want a remote switch? Oh, we need a relay. You have to have a relay if it's going to be a remote switch. Let's see. 12 volt, 200 amp relay. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. 100 amp solid state relays and contactors. How about 100 amp automotive relay? Let's assume that the 12 volt, here we go. 100 amp relay. Oh, it's only $10. 12 volts. I bet it would work on 25 volts, but I don't know. Let's see here. Is it going to give us the size and weight? Because that's where I'm going. It's about 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches, or 1 3/4 inches. So it's huge, and it's probably heavy. But I can't find anybody who tells us the actual damn weight.
1DFGA says, why not a MOSFET? When I was looking, I looked into this because I was wondering why this was missing in the FPV product lineup, and it looked like from talking to 2 different electronics engineers and trying to spec this based on available FETs, was that there was nothing that would work properly that was within a reasonable cost to make one of these devices. Like you could make one, but the FET was like $30 or $40, something ridiculous for the FETs you would need for this. Right. Or you need some kind of physical contactor device. Exactly. And then you start going up in cost, because then you have a magnet in there that needs to be powered by an electromagnet. And then the other problem we had was, you can't turn it back on, right? So it's only off. And then that also kills functionality, because otherwise you have to have an internal battery on it to be able to remotely turn it back on, because you're breaking the power to the actual relay. So
you could continue to power the receiver theoretically.
It didn't
power. Yeah,
it didn't feel like. Well, that's what I'm saying. But even if you powered the receiver, then that means you have to have a power chain through the quad, so you're not actually killing the battery, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it becomes kind of a mess, and to me, it didn't make sense to make the product.
Well, and it especially doesn't. So yeah, that's where I was going, Blunty. Is either I actually didn't know the stuff about the FET. I've always stopped it at a, because to me, if you're trying to switch 100 amps, obviously you're talking about a solenoid or a relay. You're not talking about a MOSFET. Obviously MOSFETs can do it. But the cost-effective way. But the solenoids or relays that can switch 100 amps are big and heavy, unless you're talking about like a 7-inch or 10-inch quad, and even then. So it's the size, the weight, and the cost. The thing is, every so often you put a quad in a tree and you kill a battery, and you lose a $25 battery. Okay, shit happens. That's bad. But if you put a solenoid on your quad, every time you fly, you have a stupid amount of additional weight, a great big solenoid hanging off your quad, etc. It's just not worth it. You just suck it up and lose a battery every now and then. That's the real answer. Oh, wow. Oh, hey, look at that. We are... Oh, hey, I left that message behind, and now we're going to get to it. I think we're caught up on the Super Chats, though. That's very exciting. This question is from Fishy, from all the way back at the beginning of the stream. How does antenna element size affect performance? Some True RC antennas have very small elements. Does this make a difference? What about patches? Fishy, this is very difficult to say because, you can have... The size of an antenna first and foremost relates to the wavelength of the signal that it's tuned to. Low frequency, long wavelength antennas are always physically larger than higher frequency, smaller wavelength antennas. So if you look at a 400 megahertz antenna, they're typically quite large, and there are some things people do to get them down to a more reasonable size, but you have to make a lot of compromises, and it's a difficult engineering challenge. So it's not that you can't make a low wavelength antenna smaller, and perhaps some low frequency antennas are smaller than some higher frequency antennas, but in general, lower frequency, longer wavelength is going to be larger antennas. But let's assume you're talking about a single frequency, like 5.8 gigahertz, and those antennas, now you're comparing different size antennas within that frequency. There are different antenna designs. So a helical antenna, let's bring up some pictures to help illustrate this. A helical antenna, for example, is generally going to be larger than a patch antenna. Of similar performance. And the reason for that, here's a patch, it's right-hand polarized. The reason for that is that there are other differences in the way that they're constructed. For example, a helical antenna is relatively easy to build. And it's relatively easy to build a helical antenna at home with a jig and some wire. That's literally all you need. And you just use the jig to bend the wire into a precise spiral, and boom, you actually have a very high quality antenna. The flip side is that helical antennas are difficult to mass produce because usually a person, yes, probably a machine could do it, but usually a person has to bend the wire. And on the other hand, patch antennas are super easy to mass produce because they're just printed circuit boards and you can just crank them out. But patch antennas typically have worse efficiency. And so you don't get it quite as good performance. But they're smaller and they're easier to produce. So there's all kinds of reasons why an antenna might be a different size and different performances. a small antenna can have good performance, but in general, a physically larger antenna is usually going to be easier to have better performance. And so, but you can get very good quality small antennas. And TrueRC does make good antennas. Let's see here. Let's take some more questions. We've cleared out the super chats, and we got about 15 minutes left in the stream before we finish up. So let's keep taking questions from the regular chat. Let's see here. T418RC asks, do you keep all your quads up to date? Or if it's not broken, don't fix it? Oh, God, no. Lord, no. If it's not broken, don't fix it. It would be a nightmare to keep all of these quads up to date, especially when some of these guys on the wall I haven't flown in months and they just sit there. They're like, one of them is like my special analog camera testing quad. Well, I haven't done that in a while. So, no, I definitely don't keep them all up to date. The only reason I update is because I'm making a video about a new product or feature, or there's a feature in the new update that I want. Like Betaflight 4.4 has high definition OSD, and I like that. Anybody got time for that? Mugen, I like your question. Do you use a glass screen protector on your radios? No, I don't care if it gets scratched. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not going to spend my life trying to keep all of my possessions new. I don't want to come off like as someone who has the ability to get new equipment when he wants it. It's easier for me to get new equipment than it is for somebody who's like working a 9-to-5 job that isn't part of the FPV industry, I guess is what I should say. So I can afford to be a little bit more like laissez-faire, like, who cares? I'll just get scratched up. I'll just get a new one. I want to assure you, though, that that's not why I feel that way. I have always felt that way. Like I care about stuff, and I don't put my backpack on the trunk of my car because I don't want to scratch. I don't put my quads on my car, like the hood of my car, because I don't want to scratch it up, right? So like I take reasonable care not to damage my stuff, but I am at some level a person who would really I used to, when I was younger, when I got my, the first townhome that I bought when I was younger, like if I spilled something on the carpet, I was like, ah, and I would freak out. Not literally freak out. Maybe my friends would say, no, sir, you did freak out. It was kind of weird. I used to be a lot more uptight about that. And I don't know if I've just grown out of it or what, but I'm not going to put a screen protector on my radio. I'm just going to freaking accept that it's going to get scratched up. It will still be usable. I will live with it. And I will not have one thing to stress about in my life, which is, oh boy, I got to make sure my boxer screen doesn't get scratched. I have so many things I could stress about. We're just going to chuck that one off the list, and it's going to get scratched. And it's going to be okay. Right? I just got other shit to worry about in life. And I don't put a screen protector on my phone, which is not quite the same thing. You will never see me put a screen protector on a touchscreen phone. The whole point of the phone, I put a case on my phone, 100%. A big, thick OtterBox Defender, which, I have this nice phone, but I drop my phone and it breaks. So, okay, that affects me. It's expensive as shit when I break my phone, and then I have to fix the screen or, God forbid, buy a new phone. I have insurance, but the insurance doesn't help that much. But I will never put a screen protector because, my God, I've got this beautiful OLED screen that's the experience of using the phone. So I'm not going to make the experience of using the phone worse every day by putting a screen protector on it so that someday maybe the screen doesn't get scratched. And you know what? My phone screen has scratches on it, and that's okay. That's just what my phone is like. So
I'm going to be a contrarian and say I
Go.
use a screen protector and not a case on my phone.
I mean, I'm sure you have good reason for doing that, but like, do you not drop your
Yeah.
phone?
I do, but the screen protector takes the damage because the way Gorilla Glass works is it like takes stress fractures over time and then eventually shatters. So if you've got something holding the screen together, my understanding is it can take part of the brunt. So far so good.
Maybe. So part of the problem is, what phone do you have, if I could ask?
Galaxy S10.
Oh, does it have the curved edges of the screen?
Yes.
It does. Oh, okay. I was going to try and say, I think the Galaxy series with the curved edges are more likely to break, because those edges, like, even if you've got does the protector curve around?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So I had a protector once. I mean, I can't say whether you're right or wrong. You're probably right because, you're a smart guy. I had a protector once after I got my screen replaced, after it broke. And the place that replaced the screen put the protector on. And I was like, okay. And it was a high quality one. It was the kind where they like heat it up and you basically can't tell there's a protector on there. I was like, let's give this a try. And after a little while, it started to come off. The edges started to peel up. And then it was annoying. And I was like, F this, and took it off. So they're just always annoying to me. They're never seamless. But I really am jealous of people who have these sleek, it's such a sleek, beautiful phone. I am a little jealous. And it's fucking massive when I put it in my pocket because the case is so damn big. But, yeah, I'll think about it. Maybe. Sidian wants to know, do I need an SD card for my goggles too when I get them? Or do they come with one that's good enough? No, I don't think they come with one. You need one. To record DVR, you will need a good quality SD card because you're recording, you're recording 1080p at least. The O3 Air unit has to record 4K. So I guess the goggles card doesn't need to be as fast as the O3, but frankly, my advice would be to just buy all good quality fast cards because they're not that much more expensive. And the thing is, if you buy some fast cards and some slower cards, now you're going to be like, I need an SD card. Let me get one. Oh shit, that's a slow one. So just I don't know. Again, maybe this is the attitude of someone who works with SD cards professionally and can't deal with this shit anymore versus someone who is a hobbyist who's trying to save money. But my policy is they should all be interchangeable. So here we've got 128 gig UHS 3 V30 for $13. I mean, come on. Here's UHS 1. Oh, that's not actually that better price. Don't buy that one. Buy this one. Yeah. I would hesitate on the Amazon Basics. I don't care what the specs say. So, I think is UHS 1 good enough for 4K? I would probably get the UHS 3 V30. Can we get a 64 gig U3 V30? I don't know if PNY is a great brand. Oh, here we go. This is the one. Oh, no, see, look. It's $11 for the 64 gig. It's $13 for the 128 gig. Just get the 128 gig. And if you really want to, you could get something like this, which is 3 for $14. But, I just don't think you want to skimp on SD cards because it's so annoying when you lose footage. And again, I may be speaking as a professional here, and a hobbyist might care less about that, but it's so annoying when you lose footage because your SD card was shitty.
Is it possible to get, I know Amazon can be sketchy sometimes with certain products. Is it possible to get fake SD cards from there? I know that you have fake USB drives, but I don't know. Is fake SD cards
I guess sure, I wouldn't rule it out. But I always look at who I'm buying from.
With the flash drives, they let you put data on it, but then it's not actually writing, and then you try to pull it off and it doesn't work.
I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise
Gotcha.
me if that exists for SD cards, although I don't know.
Gotcha.
Like, uh, but this, like, who's selling this? This is the SanDisk store. Like, clearly this is legit. Like, if I go on Amazon and it says this is the official SanDisk store, I don't think I'm getting fake stuff. I think I'm buying from SanDisk. That's my take. If it's like, some third-party seller, maybe I would be more hesitant. Yeah, always look at who you're buying from when you buy on Amazon. So, like, can we buy other sellers on Amazon? So I don't know why I would do this because it's more expensive. So this one, it is Prime shipping, and that means that Amazon is doing the fulfillment. So that this store is Mobile Deals, and I've never heard of them, but Amazon is super strict about their fulfillment. If you get too many returns or complaints, Amazon will just cut you off as a vendor and not let you do Prime shipping anymore. So this Mobile Deals company, I mean, I wouldn't buy from them because the official SanDisk listing is cheaper. So I don't know what their problem is. Maybe that's a 256 gig card, and that's why it's more expensive. But the fact that this is Prime shipping, where did it go? Oh, there we go. The fact that it says Prime there tells me that this is going to be fine. Because if they were... Yeah.
There are two different kinds of Prime.
Yeah.
There's Prime shipped from Amazon warehouse, and there's Prime shipped from retailers now. So you can ship directly from yourself and not the Amazon warehouse if you have Prime, if you make it in the right amount of days. Because this is what happened to my graphics card when I got scammed. I picked a Prime thing to order from when I ordered my graphics card, and they still shipped me a fake item. Because it did not come from an Amazon fulfillment center.
And then what happened?
3 weeks. I had to do a credit card charge back for them to get the item back that they sent me.
Amazon didn't treat that as like fulfilled by Amazon and take it back?
Correct.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. I thought Prime was Prime. I thought Prime meant fulfilled by Amazon. I didn't know you could get Prime if you weren't. Okay, so I guess cancel what I just said. If it says fulfilled by Amazon, then that's fine. Or if it's an official, like, SanDisk store, then that's fine. I mean, I would really hesitate to do other sellers then. That's interesting. Thank you, Plenty. I didn't know that. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Go. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Listen. Oh, this hurts me. Like, if you were a veteran... Oh, this is risky. If you're a veteran and people give veterans discounts and you use veterans discounts, cool. That's cool. Absolutely. Thank you for your service. But if you're a veteran and someone doesn't give a veterans discount and then you like rage because you feel entitled to a veterans discount, no. And I know it's risky to say anything negative at all about veterans in this country. So, but I feel like most people in the military and other veterans would agree with me that this guy's a freaking shitbag. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'll take the heat. Okay.
So I think, just to be clear, I think you're suggesting that if it's fulfilled by Amazon, if it comes out of their warehouse and then something's wrong, they'll just cover you right away. That's
100%.
the whole benefit, right?
Yes.
So you might get the wrong item because they pulled it from a pallet and the pallet wasn't filled correctly, but that's on them, not you, and you'll get it right back.
Fulfilled by Amazon, they have I have never been disappointed in their return policy. They always, and I also know, because Rotor Riot sold through Amazon for a while, and Amazon made them jump through hoops to keep their fulfilled by Amazon and their Prime. Like, the amount of inventory and the shipping requirements that they had was ridiculous. So anybody who is an official Amazon retailer and not like just a third-party seller on Amazon, I feel like Amazon really keeps them in check. And the return policy, Amazon will just be like, hey, your customer sent us back a box of rocks. Here it is. We gave them their money back. Fuck you. And then the store is just stuck with a box of rocks, and they can either stop selling on Amazon or they can accept the box of rocks. And that's why everything is like more expensive on Amazon, because the vendors are a lot of times just getting screwed. But the customer, it's fantastic. Anyway. Yeah. Like I returned a freaking product that I accidentally threw out the box for the product. And I also was missing some of the accessories, but the product was like a $400 product. So I returned the product and I thought, I'll give it a try. Like I'll return it. The worst thing they can do is say, hey, we can't take this back, and they'll send it back to me and I'll keep it. And I didn't get a refund. And I was like, oh, and then I contacted Amazon support via chat. And I told him the situation. I didn't volunteer the information that I had left out some of the stuff. I just said, hey, I sent this back for a refund. Can you update me on the status? And the guy was like, oh, yeah, okay. There's been some issue, but here's your money back. And I was like, okay, thank you. Oh, I've got the chat started now. People are arguing about the veterans thing. Anyway. I should have known that was going to happen. Oh, well, I guess it's time to end the stream because it's 10 p.m. Is Ciati streaming today? I'm guessing he's not, because I'm guessing he's still
He is.
He is streaming?
He posted it earlier, yes.
Is he back? Did he get back? You don't know. Or do you know?
I saw him post it. Just here he is. He posted it again.
Oh, he's here. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of the way. Hey, Tim Z, I have a Costco membership. Costco is amazing. You can buy anything at Costco. Oh, shit. I'm going to talk about returning. It's Costco's official policy that you can return anything you buy there, except they have some limitations for electronics, because I bought a generator at Costco. A year later, they had a better generator for $100 less. I brought back the old generator, and I said, you have a better generator, and it's $100 less. I want to exchange it. And they said, yes, sir, thank you. They gave me the new generator and a $100 bill. And that was all above board, and it's their official policy. Somehow they still make money. Costco is amazing. Alrighty, I'm going to get out of here, and Ciati's going to start streaming. Thank you to everybody. Sorry to anybody whose question I didn't get to. Feel free to email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. And I have to turn off my autoresponder. Feel free to email me your questions. I will do my best to answer them if I didn't get to them on the stream. We got any super chats that I missed, Plenty? It doesn't look like we do.
No, we got
Fantastic.
them all. Everyone that
Amazing.
I saw through the feed.
I am not scamming Streets FPV. That is Costco's official policy. That is their official policy, that they will basically take back anything. And somehow that's part of their business model and they make money on it. I don't know how they do it, but that's their official policy. Okay.
Because you end up buying all the other stuff there.
I think so.
You're down
because
with the policy, right? You're like, these guys are great. I'm just going to go there.
And you're right. Like you go in, I'm talking over Ciati. You go in and you're like going to do your grocery shopping because you have a Costco membership, and the groceries are nice, but I don't think they're worth the membership all by themselves. And then you're like, oh, I do need a $10,000 hot tub. You're right, Costco. And then you go, well, I don't want to spend $10,000 on a hot tub. What if it sucks? And then you go, oh, if it sucks, Costco will just take it back. And then you buy a $10,000 hot tub when you didn't mean to. And you take it home and it's great. And that's how they get you. I did not buy a hot tub from Costco. I bought a dinner table from Costco for like $800 once. And it was shitty. And it had these grooves in it that caught crumbs. And every time you wiped it down with water, the grooves filled up with nasty water. And I was like, this table sucks. And I returned it to Costco and I said, this table sucks. And they gave me my money back. But I bought a dinner table at Costco. Specifically because I knew if it sucked, I would take it back. Alrighty. All right, Ciati, have a great stream. I'm out of here. Blunty, thank you so much for your help. We'll see you tomorrow for the news.